Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Get Wheel. In this video, we're going to be covering the cockpit drill, or in layman's terms, how you would set your car up for driving. So the first thing we need to look at are the doors. There are two main things that you need to make sure that you're doing with your doors. Number one, that they are actually closed. So most modern cars will have an alarm that will sound if you go to drive off with the door open, and it might even tell you which door is open. If you're driving in an older car, what you would do is you would look in your mirror to make sure that it's nice and flush. Once you've made sure all your doors are shut, when you go to open your door, you need to be careful. You are now seated in the driving position, which would be normally roadside. Now, I'm not actually roadside right now, but if I was roadside, before I open my door, I'm going to be checking in my mirror and over my right shoulder to make sure it's safe to open my door. If I open my door and there's a cyclist coming or there's a car coming, it's not going to be a good thing. The next thing you need to consider is your seat. Your seat will go forwards, backwards, up, down, and tilt. You also have this head restraint right here, which you need to adjust. So when it comes to your seat, you need to make sure that you're sitting in a comfortable position where you can access all the controls of the car, but also feel comfortable at the same time. If you're gonna have a crazy long journey, the last thing you want is to be feeling uncomfortable. It is a personal preference, but at the same time, you got to have a little bit of logic. You got to think about, like, am I too close or am I too far? So my seat can move forwards and backwards, and this lever down here is what does it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left foot and put it over the left pedal, which is the clutch. Now I'm going to push that left pedal all the way to the floor, and what I want to do is I want to be able to feel the floor quite comfortably, but also not to be like incredibly close. Now I could sit incredibly close, which is probably a bad idea. So using this thing here, moving me really, really close, and I'm quite bunched up on it, and it's going to be quite hard for me to be able to control that as I'm bringing it up. You can see now that my leg or my feet is quite bunched up, and that doesn't feel very comfortable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my seat back a little bit using that lever that I just showed you, and I'm going to put myself in a position where I can feel the floor, but I'm not right on top of it. I'm also not stretching, so that I'm not sort of like all the way back here and I can only just about feel it. I don't really want to be doing that. When it comes to raising or sinking my seat, this will also have an impact on how close I'm sitting to. So there is a lever down on my right hand side. So by lifting the lever up, it pumps me up, and if by pushing it down, it pushes me down. Now getting the height right is important. If I'm all the way up here, I'm going to be incredibly close to the roof, and I'm very likely going to be hitting my head on the roof, which I don't really want to do. So I'm going to bring my seat down a little bit. Now also do be aware that when you do raise and sink your seat, it does actually have an impact on how close I sit to, because as the seat comes up, it kind of comes up and slightly forward. This allows you to sort of like refine in minute detail the positioning that feels most comfortable to you. Not sitting too low so I can't see over the steering wheel. So I'll give you an example. So if I come all the way down there like that, and I'm sitting a little bit too low, that would be a struggle for me to see over my steering wheel. What I want is to come up a little bit, not incredibly close to the roof up here, but also got a nice view of the car in front, and that should probably work. Now this wheel here is what I use to adjust the back of the seat. Now that wheel, if I turn it all one way like that, will mean I'm lying all the way backwards. Now again, we're not like low riders here, and also this would be a great position if I wanted to sort of stop on the motorway and have a bit of a rest, but this is not the sort of position that I need in order to drive. And coming back to what I said to you right at the beginning of the video is that I must feel comfortable at the same time, right? So comfortable and be able to access all the controls at the same time. The next thing that I need to do, so once I've set all my seat up forwards, backwards, and tilted the back of the seat, is I need to adjust my head restraint. The head restraint is one of the questions they could ask you on the day of your test. It's one of the potential show me, tell me questions, and it's pretty simple. When it comes to head restraint, if I put my hands on it like so, it will click up. Now there's a little button here, this little button right here, and if I press that button in, I can now bring the head restraint down. So the answer to the show me tell me question is, how would you adjust your head restraint to give you the best protection in the event of a crash, is the rigid part, which is all of that, must be at least the height of your eye and the top of your ear. And in this particular example, it's a little bit high, but it's still giving me protection because it is part of the rigid part. What I like to do is I like to bring it up one notch so that my head is sort of more in the middle of it, or at least not right at the top of it, and I feel that that will give me the best protection. That's the answer to that show me, tell me question. So if you get that question in your test, you've now got the answer. There is one final little wheel on my car. So right at the front of the seat, there is a wheel here which will adjust my lumbar. And as I turn that, it actually pushes something in the seat right into my lumbar. So if I'm getting a bit of a bad back on a drive, it will give me a little bit more support for my lower back. It's not an essential part of your cockpit drill, but again, if it makes you feel comfortable, that's the main thing. The next thing I need to adjust is my steering wheel. The steering wheel adjusts in a way where I have a lever here, and if I pull that lever down, the steering wheel will now move up, down, towards me, or back in again. I raise my arms up, and I kind of want my wrists to be somewhere near the top of the steering wheel. My view is going to be something like that. So as I bring my head down, I should be able to see my dashboard. And if I just press my start button there, I'd see my speedometer there. I've also got the analog speedometer there, and I've got my rev counter here. So that gives me a nice little view, good view over the top of my steering wheel, and we're all good. So that releases it, allows me to move it, and that will close it back in. First thing I'm going to adjust is this mirror up here. Now, what I'm looking to do with this mirror is pretty simple. I'm looking to line the top of the mirror here along with the top of the back of the window. So I'm kind of framing that back window to get a good view. And the other thing that I need to make sure that I'm careful of is I don't want to be touching the mirror with my fingers. I don't want thumbprints or fingerprints all over that mirror. So try and grab it from the left or the right like that, and then move it. Now, when it comes to adjusting this mirror, I need to make sure that I'm actually sitting in a position that I will drive in, right? So what a lot of learners do, and a lot of people make the mistake of doing, is they sort of start leaning in and then moving the mirror like this, and then when they go to sit back down again, it's no longer adjusted properly. So I need to be sitting in the position that I'm going to be driving in. I take my hand up to the mirror, I'm going to move the mirror like so into a position, in a normal sort of driving position, get it all adjusted. I can even put my hands back on the wheel if I like, a bit like that. And when I look up at the mirror now, it works. The next thing I need to do is I need to do my door mirrors. Now, in my car, you need power, and in most cars, you do need power. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna press the start button of my car. Now, that doesn't actually start the engine of this car, but it does give me the electrical power. On my door now, I've got a little D-pad or a direction pad. Picking the right mirror now, if I press that button, it's illuminated. And now what I'm looking for when I'm adjusting this mirror, and again, I'm going to sit in a sort of position that I would be when I'm driving. What I'm doing is I'm going to use this little direction pad to move the mirror right and left. Now, what I'm looking for is when I adjust my mirrors is I want to see a bit of my car. Now, some people say a thumb's width, or you could say 2 fingers width of your car. That's again a reference point. Now, what I'm going to suggest you do is you want to be able to make sure that when you're looking at your mirror, you can see your car, but you also want the angle of your mirror to be as wide as possible. So once that's done, I'm going to just simply press this button here. That's going to illuminate that. And now I'm going to be adjusting that mirror over there. So when adjusting this mirror here, again, I'm going to control it in exactly the same way. I want to see about a thumb's width of my car. Try and keep it as horizontal as possible. And once that's done, you should be all set and ready to go. So one of the final things you need to do when you're setting up your car is make sure you put your seatbelt on. I need to make sure that it's nice and flush to my body, like so. So as it comes down, now that's there to obviously protect you in case of an accident. That itself could be painful. It's certainly not going to be comfortable. It could give you a bruise, but I'd rather have a bruise than smash my head against the windscreen. If that's twisted, how much more painful could that possibly be? And that could dig into my skin and actually cut me. If it's twisted, if it's nice and twisted up, release it, let it go all the way back, bring it back down, run your thumb under it like so, click it into place, and you're done. The final thing that you need to do, certainly if it's your car, is make sure you've got enough fuel. So in my car, it's the right-hand dial, and that will tell me that I've got more than enough fuel. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's the cockpit drill. That's how you set the car up for driving. You should now have a good idea of how to set your car up when you're going to your first lesson. If you like what you've seen here, or if you've got any value out of this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and then you know when the next video is coming out. But that's it for now, folks. I'll see you next time. Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Get Wheel. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate this. It's pretty simple. Doors, we know how to open and close them. You literally open or close the door, like so.